I'm at the wrap-up to the 2019 Expediting Expo. I'm glad I showed up here in Fort Wayne, Indiana for this round. I met 6 expediters who told me they were the fans of my YouTube, and for one thing, and 4 of them told me that I am part of the reason why they came out and risked it all and went into expediting. And it's a good thing. Anytime you can become self-employed and get out of that 9-to-5 regular rat race, it's always a good thing. So I'm glad I was able to affect someone's life in that positive way. It's always a good feeling. This is what's left of the straight trucks and vans for the expo. I hope you can hear me. They didn't have that greatest of turnout. This is a new venue, I guess, for them at the Fort Wayne when they had to switch over to Indiana for some reason. That might have been partially what affected it. I'm not sure. I mean, Fort Wayne you'd think would be a better location than Kentucky, where they had it in Lexington, but overall the booths inside, there was about half the booths that there was a few years ago. I don't know if that's a reflection of the industry itself being slower lately or what. People have told me that the industry is pretty slow. I'm looking at getting back into expediting potentially, but driving as a company owner for the owner again. Mostly because I don't want to put in that deep of skin into the game of being 30 grand or 50 grand in debt on a van, let alone $100,000 in debt on a straight truck for this industry. Not because I don't believe in the industry itself, mostly because I just got done, 8 years ago paying off $26,000 in credit card debt, and I want to live my life as close to debt-free as I can, so it goes against my philosophy of living my life as close to debt-free as possible. The point being, if you don't have all that debt and house bills and all that other stuff to catch up on, you end up with like a cell phone bill, car insurance, food and gas, and overall on a month-to-month basis, at long run, it's really nothing to come up with. In terms of, whereas other people are paying $1,200 a month rent just for rent by itself, and then you got utilities on top of that, then you got car payment and insurance and all that stuff, and before long they're eyeballs deep in debt. That's the way this society wants to be, though. And if you had 30 grand or 50 grand worth of debt, then that makes you really want to get out here and do this stuff, obviously, to make your van payment or your straight truck payment. Which, for a business-wise, if they're going to do that for a lifetime for a business, I say go right at it, man. That's the best way to be self-employed. Take all the risks, get skin in the game, and go for it. Me, I see doing this maybe not as a lifestyle for life, maybe on and off here or there or something, but overall I might look into doing RV delivering, doing something else just to do something else. Not that expediting, I would jump right back into expediting if I given the chance, and I'm looking at working for an independent expediter. A couple different ones that are smaller, mom and pop style companies than this kind with the bigger businesses, just because they have less oversight, I guess, and regulation. Possibly driving for a fleet owner for like a small family business sounds better to me than driving for a fleet owner for a company. So I'm looking into that route this next month to see kind of what I can come up with. If not, I'll go into RV delivering or doing something else. But it was pretty touching, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, to see that, I met 6 of my fans on YouTube, and 4 of them mentioned how I'm part of the reason they got into this to begin with, because somebody put the knowledge out there on the video about what expediting is and what all the good and bad about it was, and gave them a better insight as to if they want to jump into it or not on a day-by-day basis, etc. And I'm glad I could make people realize that 9-to-5 life ain't really the thing to do. Anytime you can go self-employed, that's the thing to do, And there's nothing quite better than getting that money call. Somebody calling you for, you go this far for X amount of money every day. There's nothing better than that money call. I think that can become addicting, don't think. Not that say chasing money is a thing, but it's a pretty good aspect of it. That and the traveling, and the fact that because you're self-employed, you can do whatever you want. You want to take a load that day, you can do it. If you don't want to take a load that day, you don't have to. You're totally self-employed, and it all goes by your reputation. If you're going to be that yes man at least 3/4 of the time and be a dependable driver, you're going to have a good, reliable dispatch relationship with your dispatchers because they know you'll take the load good 3/4 of the time without bitching and complaining. But I say 3/4 of the time because obviously you don't want to take low rates, because low rates is going to put an overall low standard for the industry as a whole. If more and more drivers accept lower and lower rates, they're just going to be like, oh, we could get away with doing this. So I could see standing for 80 cents a mile, 90 cents a mile, etc. on up, and trying not to drop down to the 70 or 60 or 40 cents a mile like the Russians are running, and keeping the industry at a level base. I mean, I hear of grandfather expediters who were out here when it first started. They were making $2 or $3 a mile, which paid almost triple what a semi would pay to run something in a van. And obviously since then that's gone down a little bit over time, mostly because brokers take bits and pieces of the load, and then drivers end up taking it for less and less. So I could see holding on to a certain percentage point and saying, no, I'd only do it so much of a point, but at the same time you got to be like 3/4 of a yes man to be out there and be like a dependable guy that they know that they can call and depend on you. Because even if you already took a load and you had a load compared to a couple other vans that don't have a load, if they have established a bad reputation with their dispatcher, the same dispatcher as you, that dispatcher is going to call you more than they're going to call that other person. It's not supposed to happen that way. These bigger companies are supposed to be first in, first out for the vans and stuff, but in reality, that dispatcher is going to call the person he knows will take the load versus the guy he has to convince to take the load versus the guy he has to argue with, etc. So you end up being the guy that they call if you make that reputation of it. But I miss it overall. Miss coming out here doing that, and the camaraderie, and living that truck stop life, I guess, so to speak. Good and bad. I wouldn't mind at all. I'd sign right up in a minute if I find the right owner to work with as a company driver. But I don't want to put the skin in the game to have that much debt just for the debt reason. Now, if I won the lottery or something to where I had 50 grand or 100 grand just sitting around to use, then yeah, I'd definitely consider buying something and going right into it right off the bat, because then you don't have the debt piling up, behind you doing it. Not to say that you viewers are in a different position than I am, and different credit score than I am, and so on. It can make things work better in terms of debt and lease payments than I would choose to do, but me personally, I choose not to go into debt, that much debt. That's the decision everybody has to make, Obviously, if you with 30 grand in debt or 50 grand in debt on a truck payment, you're gonna, make that truck move to make the business work to pay that debt. So, but people make a living at it and make a damn good living at it. So there's always good and bad to it. I'm not saying, overall, this right here is better than 9 to 5. Anytime you can be self-employed, doesn't matter what you do. Anytime you can be self-employed is way better than working for someone else. And that's the biggest freedom that expediting offers. I haven't made a video up for this channel content just because I haven't had anything related to this content since I've been out of expediting for a little while. But now that I'm back at the expo, I figured, with at least the background content, I could do an update on what I'm doing. I'm looking into doing this month, seeing if I could find or run for a mom and pop style expediting company like independent, or if not, I might go into RV delivering. I'm not sure yet. Just to see what happens. I just thought I'd give an update. Like and subscribe, leave comments, and we'll catch you in the flip. Peace.